Good day, ma'am. My name is Kathy May Pasos Lagapa, a BSHM2A, and here's my reporting. Organization and Management. We tackle Chapter 1, Development of our Business Culture. People have engaged in business activities since the earliest beginning of the community existence, when early man produced more of a crop or caught more game animals or fish than he could consume, or bartered the excess for something produced or caught by never he was engaged in the business activities. Development of business culture. Business was already highly developed in an ancient world. The code has Hammurabi promulgated around 2000 BC has provision governing commercial transactions. Business is equally an ancient in the Philippines. Historians have shown that the Philippines lies at crossroads and ancient trade and migration. As early as the 9th century, Arab traders were already visiting the islands. By the 12th century, Chinese traders stopped over of the Philippines trade by the even established trading communities in the Philippines. The galleon trade was the trade between Manila and Acapulco in Mexico, which was carried on most during the 18th century. The Filipinos were millennials and the tillers of the soil. The Spaniards were the governors, and the Chinese and Sangli mestizos were the distributors, tradesmen, capitalists, and the entrepreneurs. The main items traded: Chinese silk. There were also precious metal works from India and rugs from Persia. So let's proceed to business is capitalistic if we have first private ownership of non-personal means of production, land, industrial plants, um, equipment, factories, transportation facilities, and other capital goods, or at least the larger part of the community's capital goods, are owned by individual person or by private corporation and not the state. Second, production for private account. This means that private initi- initiative gives rise of product essential for private profit. The earnings from business go to private individuals or groups. Voluntarily savings and the institution of bank credit. In every economy, certain basic functions have to accomplish in determination of what, how, how much, and for whom to produce. The allocation of goods services produce further growth of the economy. The distribution of the economic benefits and maintenance of relation with other countries. In a capitalist economy, otherwise known as the market economy, prices serve as indicators between the consumers and the producers. The market evolved as a result of the exchange between buyers and sellers, which consequently led to the establishment of prices. So the forces of supply and the demand are allowed to operate with a decision taken by buyers and sellers coordinated by movement in the prices. The private owner's objective is engaging in business activities is the earning of a handsome profit as a result of the use of his productive assets. The motivation for profit serves as the greatest incentive for economic drive on the part of owners of resources. Capitalism works along these lines, although an ideal market economy could hardly be achieved to the presence of many market imperfections, with result to some problems in resource allocation. The arrival of the Spaniard forced of the people to produce more to support the non-producing Spanish authorities. The arrival of the Americans further led to the development of the Philippines, although we were made as an outlet of American produced goods. The granting of independence to us led to the emergence of the Filipino entrepreneurs to continue the process of the Philippine economic development. So, Marx makes certain distinction between socialism and communism. In socialism, goods are not yet sufficiently produced to meet all the material needs of the members of the society, while communism, the sage state of abundance, has already been achieved. In socialism, man produces as a result of incentive like wages. In communism, production is undertaken without any pudding since work becomes natural to the members. Security and need for material incentive disappear with the reaching of the stage of communism, hence scarcity, social classes, exploitation, and the state does not exist. Socialism, as viewed by Marx, is the next stage after capitalism. The modern business culture has had its beginnings in the commercial revolution of the 15th and 16th century. Then came the industrial revolution. Mechanical invention removed the production limitation which kept the demand from being fully met. The acceptance of the laissez-faire theory that competition can be trusted to guide business activity towards socially desirable ends completed of the process of molding our business society into its present form. So let's proceed to the study of business. The modern business culture, such as all embracing and pervasive effect on every single member of the Philippine community, that it becomes advisable to have a clear mental picture of its meaning. So let's proceed to attributes of the term business. Business is an organization of the people with varied skill, which uses property or talent, or to produce goods or services, which can be sold to others for more than their cost. Considered as a system through which economic activities is organized and directed by those who seek to make a profit, includes any lawful activity carried on conscientiously which involve buying and selling or manufacturing or financing or rendering of a service for money. Let's proceed to a fundamental characteristic. A fundamental characteristic of business that distinguishes it from other economic activities is the fact that the goods produced or purchase or the service created are not primarily for the consumption could not, according to this characteristic of business, be considered a businessman, but the modern farmer who produces for the market is in very real sense a businessman. This fundamental characteristic of business excludes professions such as law, medicine, engineering, teaching, and possibly some other, since such as activities are often entered into primarily works. In other works, it might be well eliminate the lawyer, doctor, engineer, dentist, teachers, consultants, or other professional men from the concept of businessman. The objective of businessman is to sell his product or service in such a manner as to recover not only what it actually costs him, but also something in excess of cost to provide a reward personal effort and risk. The hope of businessman is to earn profit, which in a business sense may be defined as the difference between the selling price of a goods or service and its cost. Businessmen hope to earn profits by following the principles of organization and sound management. This characteristic of business can be possibly only the climate in the country, the constitution, the law, the custom and tradition of the people will allow those who engage in business reasonable expectation of profit possibilities. Let's proceed to kind of business. Commerce. Commerce transfer or exchange of goods and services with the movement of goods from point of production to point of consumption. It covers buying, selling, and marketing and merchandising. Others activities which directly concern the transfer of goods like collecting of goods, grading, warehousing, transportation, insurance, and financing of transfer. Trade. Trade is a part of commerce, either retail or wholesale domestic foreign. Retail business is represented by a sari-sari store, a grocery department stores like Soriente, Santos or COD in Manila, Gaisano in Cebu City, and many others. Wholesalers buy and maintain stock of merchandise for distribution to retailers or not to institutional, commercial, or industrial users, but not in significant amount ultimate consumers. So let's proceed to industry. Industry is primarily concerned with the creation of form, utility, or the production of goods that are used either by the consumers and are, therefore, called consumers' good by other industries in the further production of other goods and therefore called producers' good. So it is divided into first, genetic industry, derived from the Genesis, beginning include agriculture, forestry, and fish cultures. Second, extractive industry, include mining, lumbering, hunting, and fishing. They are all characterized by an extraction of goods from natural resources. Third, manufacturing industry are involved in the changing of raw materials or secondary products into a more useful form. It includes food, beverage, tobacco, textiles, footwear and wearing apparel, paper and paper products, printing, leather, rubber, chemical, machinery, electrical appliances, transportation, equipment, and hundreds of others industry manufacturing others good of products. Port construction industry may range from the building of multi-million peso highways, airports, and many-storied skyscrapers to the more humble dwellings and residence we will live. Construction industries may range from the building of multi-million pesos highways. What I said, sorry. So let's proceed to services. Services are the third broad classification of business. These enterprises cater to personal needs of people or with the rendering of a personal service. Business engaged in a service are not involved in the buying and selling goods or the manufactures of product. Recreation services include motion pictures production and distribution, theaters for drama and stage presentation, television, and the like. Personal services include such as businesses as restaurant, hotels, lodging houses, laundry shop, beauty parlors, barber shop, portrait and photographic studies, and refreshment parlors. The student should be cautioned, however, that these broad classifications are not mutually exclusive. Certain businesses do not fall clearly into classification or another but may overlap into two or three groups. Thus, transportation and communication may be classified as commerce if they are essentially intended to transfer goods, but a passenger's bus or a home telephone system would be performing service. Similarly, bank, financial institution, and insurance companies may deal in both commerce and industry or even services. Why people go into business? People go into business for a variety of reasons. They may go into business as owners and employers or as employee. The decision to go in and not into some other activity as the priesthood or medicine or law may be the result of conscious thought and deliberate preparation over a period of years. Or it may be due to the fact that person find no easier, more satisfactory way of the earning a living, whether a person goes into business as an employer or an employee. He faces the hazard of loss and other problems inherent in the conduct of business. So let's proceed to both owner and employee need essentially the same personal characteristics that are required to succeed. Both also enjoy certain which are derived when people go into business. These values are: first, social approval. The businessman has a high social standing in the community. It used to be the society looked with a greater favor upon the soldier, the landlord, the priest, and the doctor. Early businessmen were looked upon as second-class citizens who belonged to a lower social strata. Second, profit. The major factor of motivation for going into business is profit. Individuals enter into these activities because of the anticipation of a reward for their toiling in the form of monetary benefits. Aside from this, return must be realized by their productive assets so as to maintain as a satisfactory level of productive operation. Although the main factor is profit, businessmen nowadays have come to understand the importance of placing as much emphasis to standards and more socially acceptable levels. Profit have to change too. Third, services to the community and employees. Many businesses men render service to the community in donating money, in sponsoring civic activities, setting up facilities for community needs, or providing opportunities for employment. Many libraries, artisan wells, recreation halls, and playgrounds are built by business firms for the community. Red Cross Fund drives the community chess, boys and girls movement are led by successful businessmen as a part of their public service function. Service is given not only to the community at large, but to one's own employees. So number 4, personal satisfaction. This personal satisfaction comes about from the social status conferred on those engaged in business. It also arises from the many opportunities given to businessmen to satisfy his creative urge, his desire to witness the concrete fruits of his endeavors, and his search to self-fulfillment in what he feels is useful activities. Business is not only a means to provide a livelihood, but a way of life and a pattern of existence as well. Number 5, livelihood. People go into business to earn a living. The pervasive influence of business in human activities is such that very often the only avenue where one could enter in the hopes of earning a living is to work commercial, industrial, or service establishment. Number 6, power. Some people enter business because they expect to rise up position of the prestige, power, and leadership. The successful businessman, whether employer or a manager-employee, wield power in the community, exercise influence with the money productive facilities under his control, and commands authority over the subordinates working under him. The desire of power is a craving that is human enough and is often fulfilled in his successful business. Number 7, protection. Quite often, individuals inherit a business, and rather than suffer a loss through selling it, decide to run the business themselves. A man who is musically inclined in youth and who seems to pursue a career in art may suddenly take over a company left by his father to father of protection. A person who inherits a building and who cannot find a satisfactory tenant may decide to open his own business or trading establishment in that building. The reason why people go into business are as infinite as the choices that are often for individuals, and the motivation does it also. Let's proceed to important why we should have a knowledge of statistic, economics, sociology, and psychology. Statistic deals with mathematical tools, trends, and decision theories. Management can be seen as a logical process which can be expressed in terms of mathematical symbols and relationship. Measurements of variables can be substituted in mathematical equations to get answer for the known under different conditions. Letter B. Economics deals with the study of collection of scarce resources for the satisfaction of humans' wants. It is necessary in business since the producer has scarce or limited resources, so he has to know the different combination he can arrive at with his given amount of resources. Sociology Sociology deals with individuals' relationship to society as whole. Management can be viewed as a social system or a system of cultural interrelationship. Sociology can make managers aware of their obligations. Knowledge of sociology factors which can be motivate the members of the organization towards the achievement of business goals as working team can lead to faster growth of any organization. Psychology is a science which deals with the study of mind, a working knowledge of concept which motivates individuals towards the performance of their tasks, in their attitude, and their reaction to various situations can greatly help the businessman in their implementation of different personnel policies and his dealings with the other people in the organization. The presence of motivating factors in the organization foster greater enthusiasm and subsequently increase production output on the part of the workers in the organization. The choice of particular sorry for that. The choice of the particular business. In choosing a particular business, a person may exercise deliberative judgment. He may be guided not only by personal preference but also a variety of influences and consideration bearing upon him. Often enough, people go into certain field business because that field it is the only one with an available opening. The latter individuals would readily choose other businesses if the openings presented themselves. In other words, opportunity rather than deliberate choice become the determinant. For those who are free to choose, the following factors may control. First, available funds. The ability the availability of funds definitely limits the type of enterprise that may be formed by an individual, partnership, or corporation. Second, special aptitude and interest. In looking for business opportunities, one must take an inventory of his personal aptitude and interest. Third, training, education, and experience. Even though one has the interest and average aptitude for a given line of business, if his training, education, background, and experience has been in a field foreign to his current interest, it would be to his advantage to work as an employee in that field for a time instead of assuming immediately the risk of proprietorship in the business that interests him more. Social status of the business. Social standing influences to a marked degree the satisfaction that individual gets from his business endeavors. The competitive situation. The competitive situation should always be investigated. Competitive may be so keen that the margin of profit is narrow or at times non-existent. Some person enter a highly competitive field and win in a place for themselves by rendering a special service that the customers want. So let's proceed to the location factor and social values of the particular community. Wait. An individual with social and economic economities in a particular place may want to engage in a certain business which can only thrive in other place. The location factor and his social ties will guide him in arriving decision. For examples, a businessman may excel in the department store trade. However, a department store can thrive successfully only in other city, some 100 kilometers away from the town where he has social and economic ties. In his sit- in the situation, he may sacrifice personal desire for business opportunities, or he may put off going to into businesses until he can find a location which will be enable him to live in community where his social ties can satisfactorily re-establish. The present or potential demand. Demand is another factor that must be evaluated before a final decision is made to enter a given business endeavor. Social significance of business. People have begun to realize the social and economic significance of business activities, since these affect all of us in some way or other, directly or indirectly. We are all buyers of goods, clothing, services, and we are all sellers of our own services. The secret of businesses. Many of John D. Rockefeller's competitors went out to business not because his oil was better than theirs. Many competitors of Mr. Henry Ford have gone out of business not necessarily because the Ford car was better than theirs. So, that's all of my reporting, ma'am. Sorry for the inconvenience. So, successful businessmen are better organizer as they know how to combine money and opportunity in ways to bring about successful result. So that's all. Thank you. I am Kathy May Paslagapa, BSHM 2A.